Hello everyone, my name is Molly Campbell. I'm an English instructor here at Whisper College. Today for the Great American Read-In, I'm going to be reading an excerpt from Carl Sagan's Cosmos. You may be familiar with this from the TV series that I believe aired in the 80s, though I grew up watching it too. Our students may be more familiar with the rebooted version that Neil deGrasse Tyson did a few years ago. So I'm going to be reading from a section that he writes about books and libraries. When our genes could not store all the information necessary for survival, we slowly invented them. But then the time came, perhaps 10,000 years ago, when we needed to know more than could be conveniently contained in brains. So we learned to stockpile enormous quantities of information outside of our bodies. We are the only species on the planet, so far as we know, to have invented a communal memory stored neither in our genes nor in our brains. The warehouse of that memory is called the library. A book is made from a tree, an assemblage of flat, flexible parts, still called leaves, imprinted with dark pigmented squiggles. One glance at it and you hear the voice of another person, perhaps someone dead for thousands of years. Across the millennia, the author is speaking, clearly and silently, inside your head, directly to you. Writing is perhaps the greatest human inventions, binding together people, citizens of distant epochs, and who never knew one another. Books break the shackles of time, proof that humans can work magic. More recently, books, especially paperbacks, have been printed in massive and inexpensive editions. For the price of a modest meal, you can ponder the decline and fall of the Roman Empire, the origin of species, the interpretation of dreams, the nature of things. Books are like seeds. They can lie dormant for centuries and then flower in the most unpromising soil. The great libraries of the world contain millions of volumes, the equivalent of about 10 to the 14 bits of information in words and perhaps 10 to the 15 bits in pictures. This is 10,000 times more information than our genes and about 10 times more than our brains. If I finish a book a week, I will read only a few thousand books in my lifetime, about a tenth of the percent of contents of the greatest libraries of our time. The trick is to know which books to read. The information in books is not pre-programmed at birth, but constantly changed, amended by events, adapted to the world. It is now 23 centuries since the founding of the Alexandrian Library. If there were no books, no written records, think how prodigious a time 23 centuries would be. With 4 generations per century, 23 centuries occupies almost 100 generations of human beings. If information could be passed on merely by word of mouth, how little we should know of our past, how slow would be our progress. Everything would depend on what ancient fightings we had accidentally been told about, and how accurate that account was. Past information might be revered, but in successive tellings it would become progressively more muddled, and eventually lost. Books permit us to voyage through time, to tap the wisdom of our ancestors. The library connects us with the insights and knowledge, painfully extracted from nature, of the greatest minds that ever were, with the best teachers, drawn from the entire planet and from all of our history, to instruct us without tiring and to inspire us to make our own contributions to the collective knowledge of the human species. Public libraries depend on voluntary contributions. I think the health of our civilization, the depth of our awareness, about the underpinnings of our own culture and our concern for the future can all be tested by how well we support our libraries.